Imagine if you went from feeling fine every day to feeling amazing. How would your life be different? Everyone has the ability to feel amazing again and again. You just need the right tools to get there. If you're ready to feel amazing, stick around. Now, here's the host of the I'm Not Fine show with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens.
Welcome, everyone. That's me, Lizzie Ens. I am the host of I'm Not Fine on the Inspired Choices Network. And today, this show is going to be about the truth about the dieting industry. But before we go into that, I want to tell you a little bit more about myself and what I do. I'm a functional nutrition practitioner, and I help people not have to diet. I help people get more energy, better sleep, and live a sustainable lifestyle. And one of the things I want to tell you today is I have a new group program launching June 5th that I'm going to be taking people through, helping to heal their body from root cause problems like hormones, not having energy, no sleep. And so if this is something that you are wanting to get in on, I want you to book an appointment with me. You can find that in the show notes, but you can also email me at lizzie@undietyourself.live. Email me at lizzie@undietyourself.live and ask me questions or see if you can book a call with me. We'll see if that's a good fit for you. We start June 5th. The other thing is grab a copy of my book, Escaping My Reflection. This is my autobiography. It talks about where I come from. I grew up Amish, and it's my story. And I tie that into what I do now and how my background and how I grew up, how that translates over to what I teach people now. I'm not teaching people how to be Amish, but I am teaching people what that hard work and dedication and follow through has done for me and how that translates over to our health now. And there's so many aspects of that life that I respect. And I teach that to my clients now as well. So grab a copy of that book at lizzieens.com. If you are out of the country, you can look it up on Amazon. Just type in your country, look in your country and see if it's getting shipped to you through Amazon as well. I go live here every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I believe that's 2 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure that you hop in here and jump into the chat room when we're live here, ask me questions, and connect with me. 1 p.m. Eastern instead of 2 p.m. Eastern. I couldn't do math there. Okay, so now we're going to dive into today's show, the truth about the dieting industry. This is such a phenomenal industry. When I look at this and I look at the amount of money that is being made in the dieting industry, it is just astonishing to me. But I have a question for you. Have you ever gone on a diet and you're like, this is it. This is guaranteed. This is what I'm going to want to do. This is my lifestyle. This is going to give me the results that I want. I want the quick results. That's many of us. That's where I was before, yo-yoing back and forth. I can't even tell you how many diets I've done before. And every single time, it left me just hopeless because it didn't give me that sustainable lifestyle. It didn't give me the results that I wanted. I may have lost weight real quick, but then as soon as you get rid of that diet and you go back to like eating what you were before, then the weight comes back or you start feeling the same. And so my question is always, is this sustainable? Is this diet sustainable if you're going to go on a new diet? And is this something that you want to do for the rest of your life? And do you want to continue to eat like this? What are you learning from it? Those are the things that you want to ask yourself. How is this helping my body and my health? So let's talk a little bit more about the dieting industry and kind of the background of that. So you have an understanding of how this is such a big beast and such a powerful arena. It's quite phenomenal. So the dieting industry is a $72 billion industry. In 2018, that's what it was estimated at, $72 billion. Can you believe that? Just think about that. Does the dieting industry really have your best interest at heart? Because if they're making that much money in that industry, why would they want to give you something that is sustainable? They don't like people like me because I help people get to a place where they don't have to jump to a new diet every year to get those quick results. Prescription weight loss medications are at $655 million on the market, all on their own. And in 2018, 239,000 bariatric surgeries were performed. And that growth is estimated at 5% per year. So people are desperate. They want some kind of quick results. They want answers. They want to figure out what it is that they need. What is it that they need in order to feel good and have energy? How do they fuel and nourish their body? So we go on this like cycle. But even with all that, with all the diets, the weight loss pills, the surgeries, US adults are still at a 41% obesity. So even with all of the money that is in the dieting industry and everything is that is available at your fingertips, people are still really, really struggling. Our health is declining. And why is that? And I think back to the times that I was in the phase of yo-yo dieting, and I can tell you quite a few of them that I was on, and they were not great. Probably the worst one that I was on was one called the cabbage soup diet, and it is really that. It's really gross. I would make this cabbage soup that had a lot of different vegetables in it, no protein, and that's all I would eat the entire week. That was it. And I don't know the purpose behind it. I just know for me, it was always going into, hey, I want a quick fix diet. And so I'm going to grab onto the thing that's the most appealing to me. And I'm going to see if it gives me those quick results. Another one that I did was called the Master Cleanse. Now, since then, I have learned some things about the Master Cleanse that can potentially be good for your health as far as detoxing goes and resetting some things. But I did that one so many times that I got extremely sick of it. The Master Cleanse is something that is kind of like a lemonade diet where it's like water with lemon and maple syrup and cayenne in it. And you do that for 7 to 10 days. And I remember the first time that I did this, I was 10 pounds down in 1 week, 10 pounds down. And that was astonishing to me. And I was so excited. Now, surprisingly for myself, I kept that off, but most people gain it all back and more. So that specific diet, I don't know what it was for me, but I was able to keep that off. But any other diet that I had ever done, it always came back, because it comes down to, if that diet isn't teaching you anything that is sustainable and anything that you want to do, that continues on, and it creates this lifestyle that you want to sustain and that you want to grow with, then why are you doing it? For most people, they want to be on a diet, some specific diet that has a name attached to it, because when you have a name attached to it, it makes you feel like there's more value behind it versus like, if you think about it, if you're just saying, okay, I'm going to focus on eating healthier, more whole foods, fruits and vegetables and protein, and I'm going to keep it as whole as possible, there's really nothing sexy about that. There's no sexy name behind it other than I'm just eating more whole foods. But think about it. That's what our ancestors did. They lived off of our land. They grew their own food. So where are we going wrong? So what the diet industry has done is make it convenient. So a lot of these diets are about convenience. I'm going to pick on one specific one called Optavia. There's a lot of people that I've coached that have done the Optavia diet. And I get the appeal behind it 100% because it is incredibly convenient. They send everything to you and you just open up the package and you eat the food. Now, you are limited to about 1,200 calories a day. So think about this. If you're eating 1,200 calories a day, aren't you going to be like a hangry person? And their whole purpose behind this is to get you to eat less calories, but more consistently. So you're eating something every couple hours. You're just ripping open a package, whether it's a protein bar or a shake or something like that, and you eat it every couple hours. So you're keeping your blood sugar stable by doing that, but you're not having to cook any food. So it's the convenience. You're going to spend about $400 or $500 or more a month on your food, and then you don't have to cook. That's the convenient part of it. But the reality is you have to ask yourself this. Do you want to be eating packaged food like that for the rest of your life? Do you want to eat only 1,200 calories for the rest of your life? I mean, I know guys that are over 6 feet tall and they're eating 1,200 calories a day on Optavia. They are hangry as heck. Let me tell you, by the time weekend comes around, they're in the pantry opening up the Dorito bag and eating the entire thing because they are so hungry. That is almost ludicrous because you're literally giving your body 1,200 calories, which isn't even enough to support your basal metabolic rate, which is your base amount of calories that you should be eating. And that is different for each person, but I can guarantee you a 6-foot person, a 6-foot guy, that's way more than 1,200 calories. So it's the convenience behind it. You don't have to do anything. I understand that, but let me tell you something. I've coached a lot of people that came off of Optavia, came off of keto, these types of diets. And it usually takes their body a lot longer to heal and bring balance back in. There's typically gut issues, there's hormone issues, there's thyroid issues, there's digestive issues. There's a lot of things that happen. We look at the liver, because one of the things with Optavia and their products is they're actually really full of types of ingredients that you don't want to put into your body necessarily on a consistent daily basis. And this is what can cause these types of health issues. So one of the things that you want to ask yourself is look at the labels. I had someone tell me one time that their Optavia coach told them that it is similar to eating from Trader Joe's, which is far from the truth, not even close. So when we come back, we're going to go to break here in a minute, so don't go away. We're going to come back and we're going to dive deeper into some more diets in the dieting industry and what's going on there and why it is that is what we want to do. And then some things that you're going to want to look out for, and then some strategic steps that you can take to move forward and make sure that you're not falling into that trap. And if you are in that trap, we're going to talk about how to get yourself out of that. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. This is Lizzie on the Inspired Choices Network. I'm not fine.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Lizzie Ens, and I am your host on the Inspired Choices Network. I'm Not Fine. And today we are talking about the truth about the dieting industry. And what I mentioned earlier is, does the dieting industry really have your best interest at heart? Because it is a $72 billion industry. Think about that. A couple things to think about here too that we talked about is, when you're going on a diet, you want to ask yourself, is this sustainable? Is this something that is healing and nourishing for your body? And is this something that you want to do for the rest of your life? Keep in mind, wellness is what you want to think about when it comes to your health and your body, and it's ever changing. It's like that pendulum that swings, so you got to swing with it. And the thing about a diet is it doesn't allow us to swing with it because you're in a parameter, you're in a box. It reminds me of where I grew up. Where I grew up, it's about being within the rules and the regulations of the church and listening and obeying to those. That's what it reminds me of when I think about a diet. There's all these rules of what you can and can't do on a diet. And let me tell you something, I don't do well if someone tells me what I can't and can't do. I want to be free. I want to be able to tune into what my body is telling me. And one of the things, I actually talk about this today. If you want to find me on Instagram, LizzieEns_wellness, I talked a little bit about protein and how your body tells you when it needs protein and when it doesn't have enough protein. And that's how we tune in to our body. So we're going to move forward and talk a little bit more about diets and how they affect you. When I was in my teen years, I got bullied for my weight because I was a twin, and I was still Amish, and I still got bullied for my weight. And it was only because I was a twin and I was always bigger than my twin. So this put me in this instant body image, self-destructive mode. And so when I was in like 15 and 16, I started to think about, I need to make myself smaller. And think about that. I'm this little Amish girl. I'm not exposed to Hollywood. I'm not exposed to movies. I'm not exposed to any of those things. Yet I still have really, really bad body image because I got bullied for my weight because I had a twin and I got compared to my twin. And that all started it. So I said, okay, I'm just going to starve myself. I'm going to starve myself. I'm going to eat a little bit because obviously I'm going to get hungry. But when I sit at the table with my family of 18 siblings and my parents, when I sit there, I'm going to eat like a bird. I'm going to eat as little as I can. And then I'm going to outwork all my siblings. And I did that to try to lose weight, to try to get smaller than my twin. I needed to prove that I am good enough by shrinking my body and getting smaller. But guess what I would do in between meals? I would go to the pantry and eat out of bags of chips and cereal and cookies because we had those things too. And I would go there and just like stuff my face with those things because I was hungry. But I wanted to show in front of my family that I was eating less. I don't know if anybody even noticed, but that's what I did. It caused a lot of health issues for me. Now, I did get small. I did eventually start weighing less than my twin. And when I got to that point where I was like, even just a pound less than my twin, I was like, oh my gosh, I won. I did it. And my twin was devastated because now all of a sudden she was like 2 pounds heavier than me. It's this really, really unhealthy relationship that I developed with my body, which turned into years and years of yo-yo dieting and that vicious cycle of like getting on the next thing because I was obsessed with making sure that I'm smaller. And it's really astonishing to me that that can happen even in a culture that's so blocked off from the outside world. And yet that can still happen there. It caused a lot of health issues. So one of the things that can happen when we go from diet to diet is one thing we're not doing is we're not swinging with our body to giving what it needs. We're trying to force our body into something that it can't even do, that it's not ready for, that it would never be ready for. We're abusing our body. But I just wanted to be smaller. And so what I did is what I said, I ate as little as I could and I outworked my sister and I caused a lot of health issues. I became anemic. I was tired all the time and I couldn't sleep. And my mom started to take me to the doctor, like some kind of chiropractor to try to help me. And then I was sick. And then that gave me the attention that I was wanting. So sometimes when we're dieting, it's also because we want attention. We want someone to recognize the fact that we're doing something to help ourselves, whether it's good or not. But then it can turn into a lot of illnesses as well. So I became anemic and I had a lot of digestive issues. Those digestive issues then led me into now I'm reliant on laxatives. And it wasn't until years later I realized that I was abusing laxatives. I would use laxatives every single day to make sure that I can go to the bathroom, and I was relying on them, but I wanted that so that I can make sure that I'm not bloating and I'm like getting rid of everything. So it's like the opposite of binging and purging. You're using laxatives to make sure you're getting rid of things the other way around. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize that until years later. So that's what can happen when we get stuck in this cycle of dieting as well. I see it over and over and over. And if you're on social media and you're looking at and watching all these different people and influencers talk about a new diet or a new product, you're going to get stuck in that as well. So let's take paleo, for example. Let's take keto, for example. They're carnivore. Carnivore is actually making its way back into, it was really, really popular a long time ago. And now it's making its way back again. And you're basically eating like protein and some fruit. So like lots and lots and lots of meat and some fruit, not a ton, but some fruit. Well, what's happening when you go on a diet that's that restrictive, the same with keto, is you're cutting out some of the main micronutrients like fiber, phytonutrients, vitamins, and minerals that your body needs, especially for women when it comes to hormone support and our thyroid and our female cycle. We're taking out major components of vitamins and minerals and what our body needs to function optimally. Now, when we talk about keto for a second here, keto was created a long time ago for people with epilepsy. That's what it was created for. And a doctor found out that if someone had epilepsy and they went on a keto diet, it did something in the cells, and it helped their body heal in a way that helped them not have the epilepsy episodes. I don't know if it 100% cured it, but it helped them manage it, because epilepsy is not something to mess with. I actually used to train a client that had, when I did personal training in person, I had a client that had epilepsy, and she had to be really, really careful. But that's what keto was created for. So they found out that people do really, really well on the keto that had epilepsy. Well, then the dieting industry and people started to find out that if they can go on a keto diet, they may drastically lose weight, because what they're doing is taking their body into ketosis. And there's nothing wrong with taking your body into ketosis. Absolutely nothing wrong. You just don't want to be in ketosis all the time. But the truth of the matter is with keto is, if you do it wrong, and if you're not the right type of person and candidate for it, you can really, really do some damage. I've also coached a lot of people that have done keto before. And for some people, they're really extremely successful with it because they do it right and they're the right candidate for it. But many people are not. And so I actually recently was talking to someone that said that he was at the grocery store, and he was in the supplement aisle, and he was looking for something for his liver. And the lady that was there in the supplement, that was working there in the supplement aisle, was asking him like what he was looking for. And so he's like, oh, I'm looking for something to help support my liver. And she looks at him and she goes, oh, are you on the keto diet? And he's like, no, I'm not. And it's like, why? And she said, we see more ketogenic diet people in this aisle than anyone else, because it's putting a lot of stress on their liver, because they're doing really, really high fat, which in some cases, like epilepsy, it's fine. It works when it's done correctly. But I've seen and coached people that have done keto before, and it wrecked their gut. It wrecked their hormones. It wrecked their liver and their gallbladder. So you really, really have to be careful when you're doing this, because you can make things way worse than what they were before. And it may just not be the right thing for you. No, I know some people are really, really successful on it, but it's not something that I would go and promote, because for many, it is not the right thing for them. What you really want to think about is, what is sustainable for you? What is right for you? Do you need to do some blood work to see what is going on and whether or not that is actually the right thing? Because if you're going in blind, you could make things worse. You got to be very careful with that. So we're going into the second break here. And as we're going into the second break, I want you to just kind of think about everything that we've talked about, from the dieting industry to what some of these diets were made for, and what they can do and how they can make things work. And when we come back from this break, don't go anywhere, because we're going to come back and get into more details about this. We're going to talk more into, if you've done dieting before, what are your next steps? How are you going to go back to the basics? What are we going to do from here? So don't go anywhere. I'm Lizzie Ens on I'm Not Fine on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be right back.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Lizzie Ens, and I am the host of I'm Not Fine on the Inspired Choices Network. And today we are talking about the truth about the dieting industry. And we have dropped some truth bombs here today. And I'm excited to dive into this a little bit more about what dieting really does to you, the extreme dieting and how it affects your health and your hormones and all of that. But before we do that, I want to remind you that I'm going to be launching a group program called Stronger You on June 5th, and I limit this to 10 people. And this is where I really get to take you on a journey of wellness and figure out like what's going on with you. And I help you become the best and strongest version of you by getting to the root cause of your health issues. You can email me at Lizzie@undietyourself.live, ask me questions about it, or you can go straight to the show notes and book an appointment with me, and we can have a consultation and see if this is a good fit for you. Also, remember to grab a copy of my book, Escaping My Reflection, at lizzieens.com. This is my autobiography. It's about how I grew up, and you're going to learn a lot of really juicy things there. And remember, I tune in here. I'm live here every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got it right this time. And you can also download the Inspired Choices Network app and follow along with the show, so you can find me and all these other shows on here. So make sure you go to Apple, Google, and download the app, because then you can come in here and just click whatever show you want to listen to, but specifically, I'm Not Fine. Okay, back to the show. Let's dive into a little deeper on how dieting really affects you and the long-term effects of it. When you do this continuous cycle of dieting, you're not going to notice these things right away. You're not going to notice how it affects your hormones, how it affects your thyroid, your energy, and your gut right away, or even your blood work, like all of those things. You're not going to notice that right away, but you're going to notice it eventually. It's going to come around eventually. So I didn't notice these things when I was in the middle of it, going back and forth on all of these diets. I really didn't. I was just focused on how can I make my body smaller so that I can get the approval of others. And really, is that what we're doing it for? Is it to get the approval of others because we don't feel okay in our own skin? Is it because we think and have been told that that is what health is dieting? Have you ever thought about this? Why is it that when we go on a specific diet and it has a name to it, and we tell people that we're on this diet, that we get the recognition? And all of a sudden, like, we feel better about ourselves because we're telling people like, hey, this is what we're doing. And it's as if we get the recognition of, hey, this is how we're taking care of our health. We get the recognition then. But we don't get the recognition, or we kind of like, it's gotten to this point where we sort of like feel, we get looked at weird when we're like, oh, we're choosing to eat the fruit and the vegetable at a party instead of the croissant, which, by the way, I love myself a croissant. It's like my guilty pleasure. I love that. And it's not about not ever having that. But we've gotten into such a place of convenience and such a place of the prepackaged foods, that reaching for the apple or reaching for the carrot has become this weirdness. It's almost as if like you're now on a diet. So I recently read something somewhere where someone was talking about like, why is it that when we start eating fruits and vegetables, why is it that is all of a sudden correlated with being on a diet and eating, French fries and a burger, which I love those things too, or really heavy foods, highly processed foods? That's not. And we really got to think about that. Is like, what do we consider health? What do we consider wellness? So I want you to really think about, when you go on a diet, what is this going to do for you long term? How is this going to affect your health long term? Because eventually it's going to catch up with you, just like it did with me. I did the yo-yo dieting for quite a few years, and eventually caught up to me, where I got hypothyroidism, I got Hashimoto's disease, I got really high candida levels. I had about 100 different food sensitivities at one point. And I thought I was the epitome of health when I found out all these things. And that is really what's happening to a lot of women now, specifically, is they feel like they're doing all the right things. And going on a diet feels like the right thing for them because that's what they've been told all their lives. But in the long run, it's actually making things worse. And our hormones are getting all checked up. Our gut health is getting all checked up because we're not bringing that balance in. And then most diets are malnourishing us. They're undernourishing us because we're not getting enough calories in, which calories equals energy. So if this diet is telling you like you need to eat 1,200 calories or less a day, it's not going to be enough. If you do that years and years, you're going to be tired. You're going to be exhausted. You're not going to be sleeping well. And you're going to start having thyroid and hormone problems because now you've deprived your body of these nutrients that it needs. It can't function anymore. And if we knew how incredibly hard our body worked to keep us alive, man, we'd be thanking our body every single day. And we should be thanking our body every single day. But we want to think about the balance of everything. We want to think about how do we bring that in? And that's going to look different for each individual. We are all bio individuals. No one or two people are the same because we have different genetics. We have different makeups. There's no identical ones here. Now, we could say, hey, two people, this person over here is completely fine going on a keto diet and they could do amazing on it, depending on what's going on. And then this person over here goes, well, I tried the keto and I got extremely sick. And that is because of the different genetic makeups or whatever is going on internally in their body. And that's why we have to be really, really careful with those things, because it's this downstream effect. So what do we do? How do we get out of this rat race of going on these different diets and looking for that quick fix? We got to go back to the basics. I talked about this last week. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, you should go back and listen to that, because we talked about, the medical industry and the medical system failure. And I talked a little bit about that, but we're going to go back to the basics. We got to get back to that of what is it that we need to be fueling and nourishing our body with on a daily basis. And think about what our ancestors did and how they fueled and nourished their body, and making sure that we are fueling our body with the right types of foods. I like to say, like, it's not necessarily that you're eating too much. It's a matter of you're not eating enough of the right types of foods. So what kind of foods are we bringing in, and what are we fueling and nourishing our body with? Because you'd be surprised how many people that I work with, and it's really, really simple. We start at the basics. We talk about protein. And that's our first choice, is going into, okay, how much protein should you be getting? Because protein is the thing that most people don't eat enough of. And we need it because it satiates us. It keeps our metabolism going, keeps our energy up. It helps us sleep better. It helps us with muscle. Now, one thing to remember is protein does not make us bulky. So a lot of women are afraid that if they eat too much protein, they're going to get bulky. But you only get bulky if you're going to the gym and lifting really, really heavy weights and overeating. That's the only way that you get bulky. If you make sure that you're getting enough protein and you're going to the gym, you're going to build muscle, but you're also going to burn fat at the same time. And so you're not going to get bulky. So protein is really, really important. And that should always be the number one thing that you want to focus on when you want to bring in like a sustainable, balanced lifestyle. Make protein your number one priority if you want to see quick changes. If you want to see your carbohydrate hunger go down, like if you're someone that's like, oh, I'm a carboholic and I like only want to eat carbs all the time, and you get like super, super hungry at night and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just like ravenous at night. Not really that hungry throughout the day, but by nighttime, I want to like eat out the refrigerator and eat out the pantry. That's a sign of protein deficiency. So when this happens with someone and they're like, oh, I'm a carboholic, I crave sugar like crazy, and I just want to eat the carbs all the time, typically I say, okay, let's see how much protein you're having. And we look at the protein, and as soon as we bump up their protein, boom, the sugar cravings go down and the carbohydrate cravings go down, and they don't find themselves binging at night anymore because they have satiated and satisfied their body with protein throughout the day and kept things stable. Protein also is your metabolism booster, but it also stabilizes your blood sugars. So if you're finding yourself like waking up in the middle of the night and you're under eating and you're not eating enough protein, your cortisol is going to spike at night because it's your fight or flight, because your blood sugar dropped too low. So when your blood sugar drops too low, your cortisol spikes up, and now you're wide awake in the middle of the night. So there's a direct connection and correlation there. So keep that in mind. Bring in protein first. When you're thinking about your plate, bring in protein first and watch the magic happen. It will happen, I promise. Okay, we're going to go to our third break, and then I'm going to continue on talking about some next steps of things that you can bring in to get yourself off of this dieting vicious cycle, this yo-yo cycle. So please don't go anywhere, because I'm going to continue to give you some tangible tools. I'm Lizzie Ens on the Inspired Choices Network. I'm not fine. We'll be right back.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Lizzie Ens on the Inspired Choices Network. I'm Not Fine. And today we are talking about the truth about the dieting industry. And before, I've told you about how much the dieting industry is affecting our health, our obesity rates, and literally, like, it's not helping us. Our health is only getting worse. People are getting sicker and sicker. And then I gave you some tangible tools as well. And I want to remind you, on June 5th, I'm going to be launching a new group program called Stronger You, where I take you through this wellness journey of getting to the root issues of your health and figuring out what are those steps that you need to be taking in order to get more energy, heal your body, get better sleep, lose the weight, and keep it off without dieting. So we start June 5th. And if this is something that you are interested in, and I'm limiting it to 10 people so that I can really dial in on what it is that you need to be doing and give you the attention that you deserve, I want you to email me at lizzie@undietyourself.live. See if that's a good fit for you. We can also do a consultation call. I do that with everybody that comes in, so I can share with you a little bit more about what that looks like and see if that works for you. You can grab that link in the show notes as well to book that consultation with me, and we'll dive a little bit deeper on what's going on with you and how I can help you. And then lastly, grab a copy of my book, Escaping My Reflection, at lizzieends.com, and be sure to meet me here every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Inspired Choices Network. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And join us in the chat room and ask me questions here, because I can answer those live. If not, make sure that you watch the replay or listen to the replay on the Inspired Choices app. Download that app, and you can also listen to it on many and most of the Audible versions of podcasts. So make sure you follow along and leave us a review as well, because I want to know how you're liking it and what your thoughts are, and go on, listen in from there. Anyway, let's move on. Let's finish this strong with giving you some more tangible tools. I talked about protein before. That should be your number one priority, is making sure you're getting enough protein, because every single person that comes to me, when we start working together, I notice that they are not getting enough protein. And some magic happens when we start upping their protein. So that's priority number one when we want to create a sustainable, healthy lifestyle that gives you energy, gives you better sleep, has your sex drive going up because you're giving your body what it needs. And you also want to make sure when you're doing this that you're eating enough. You got to be eating enough, because if you're not eating enough, you're also not going to have energy. The two most important things that I teach my clients when I start working with them is you got to make sure you're eating enough calories, and you got to make sure you're getting protein. This is when it comes to their food. Eating enough and eating enough protein. So typically when I work with someone, I will only have them focus on 1 to 3 things, 1 to 3 things at a time. So when you focus on protein, that would be 1. And then calories, that would be 2. And then water is going to be 3. Those are the 3 things that I have them focus on in the first week or 2. And just by doing those 3 things, they see amazing things. This is before we even look at their lab work, because that's part of my program, as well as I do lab work as well, so we can look at the internal issues and the root cause issues that are going on with their hormones and their digestive system, their inflammation markers and all of that. But if you bring in water where it needs to be, if you bring protein and calories where they need to be, you're going to see some amazing things happen as far as your sleep and your energy goes. And then from there, you want to think about your carbohydrates, like your complex carbs. What is that going to look like? You're going to get that from your fruits and your vegetables and sweet potatoes and grains and legumes and those kinds of things. So think about those types of foods when it comes to your complex carbs. And then you're going to do healthy fats. You're going to make sure you have some fats in there as well. And a lot of times your fats are kind of like your condiments. So it's like the fats that you cook with, making sure that you're using good quality fats there, and filling your plate with all 3 of those macros, your carbs, your fats, and your proteins. You're going to create a sustainable lifestyle. And that looks different for each individual based on what your goals are. Are your goals weight loss? Are your goals to maintain? Are your goals just to feel better? Whatever that goal looks like, those things are going to look differently. So you working with someone to help you with that can be extremely beneficial, because most people, if they haven't really been taught about what their plate should look like and what macros should look like, it's really, really confusing. And you can do something as simple as portion guides at first, and then eventually like get into tracking your macros for a while to see whether or not you're on the right track. But for a lot of people, like, it's really, really confusing. But what I like to do is keep it incredibly simple. So I teach you how to keep things simple. You want to, if it's confusing and if it's overwhelming, you're going to quit and you're not going to do it. So I'm going to teach you, and I like to teach you how to keep it simple so that you can continue to do it, because let's face it, we're all really busy. We're all really busy, and we don't have time to go overhaul our refrigerator and our pantry and be like, all right, I'm going to wipe everything out and I'm going to go on Whole30, or I'm going to go on keto, or I'm going to go on paleo. And that usually means like revamping your entire kitchen. And I teach you how you don't have to do that. You want to keep it simple, go back to the basics, and focus on what you can bring in instead of what you need to cut out. That's the other thing that diets will do, is that will focus so heavily on like what you need to cut out instead of focusing on what you can bring in. So when you bring in and you focus on what you can bring in to elevate your nutrition, to elevate what your diet looks like and what's healing and nourishing for your body, you naturally start out crowding out the things that your body may not be needing or wanting anyway. So make sure that you focus on those things. And next week, I'm going to be talking about digestion. Our digestion, the biggest driver behind your health issues. So make sure that you tune in next week on this episode, on this show on Inspired Choices Network, I'm Not Fine, because we're going to be talking about our digestion, our gut, and how everything is connected. I'll see you guys then.
Thank you for listening to the I'm Not Fine show. Lizzie Ens returns Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, Have the best week of your life by making choices that take you from feeling fine to feeling amazing.